Let's start with the data type. I'm creating again a new class and I can name it as data type test. I want to add some code in it, so I will be adding this main method. Okay, so let me close this up so that we can only focus on this. So let's talk about what all data types we have in Java. So first of all, it will be primitive and your non-primitive. So in the primitive part, we have let's talk about this first. First is your integer type that will bring up your byte, short, integer, and your long. So when you are playing with numbers, this is something you are going to have. Then you have some decimal values where you will be talking about float and double. Then you guys will be having some boolean values, which means true and false and character. So these are, I would say, the four high level primitive data types, and they are in total eight. So if you count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So in your non-primitive, if you talk about string, one is this, then your interface, you can say, then your array list and all your collections. So we will be focusing today more on the primitive ones, that how they are going to react at certain places. So let's start one by one. I will be talking about byte first. In that, I will be putting a variable, and in that, I will be giving a value. Okay, so this is something called as data type, which is a primitive data type, which we have just discussed. This is I'm specifying for a particular variable that we are going to provide you a certain value, which is of this particular data type. So this is a kind of container. So if you increase the number over here like this, so it is going to throw you an error. So why I have written 8 over here, or minus 128 and not 129 or any random number? So there is a range actually for all of these. So I have this W3 school open ready. So if I talk about this data type, I have a certain range here. So the range is starting from minus 128 to 127. So anything between them is the number we can take in the byte. So when I'm writing 129 or 130, that is basically outside of the range. So that is a problem. So that is why if you write 7 here or 6 here or 5 here, or you can write any positive number as well, that will all come under your byte. So that is how you can hold it up. So Java has done this thing where they have declared some kind of containers in a form of data types, like whatever the type of data you are kind of giving to the application or the software which you are designing should be perfect and will be utilized in a better way. So that is the range which they have given, so that your memory space is allocated in the right way and you can utilize them in a good way. So if I try to print it, so I'm using a shortcut called as sysO and plus control plus space. So this is something which you can use to basically directly write the print statement. But I would recommend you, if you are a beginner, try to write it by yourself, so that if you are facing some interview, you can write it by yourself. You will not struggle when you are maybe writing on notepad or somewhere, because IDE is something which is actually suggesting us. Like if you write something wrong in it, it is going to throw you an error that this is wrong. But it will not happen when you are giving it on, let's say, on a notepad, or some editor as well might not give you. So that is where you have to think of and give the right value. So this is what I have done, is I have commented them all by doing this double slashes here. If you want to comment them a single line, you have to do a double slash. If you want to comment the whole set of statement, you will be doing like this, and till the end, like over here, put a star again and put like this. So this way also you can comment when you are commenting the multiple lines. Otherwise, you can comment the single line by doing this. Then let's print or execute this. So I want to print the value of B. So I can do one thing, I can directly run via this run button, this green button. But I would suggest you, if you're running it for the first time, go and run it via run as. Okay. So this is how you get the value. Now, next time if you run it, you will find the right thing. So first time when you're running it, go with that right click option. So let's talk about next item, which is your short. So you have to be very careful while writing these. So I was writing B over here as big or uppercase, and S also as uppercase, which is not going to be accepted over here. So if I write like this, this is not a part of your library anymore, so it will be confused. So it is just not giving you the right color of that data type which we were looking before. This is something else. Or if I write like this, it is going to throw you an error. So bigger B is something else, which I will explain you later. But this is something which we are talking about, which is your primitive data type, and specifically for handling the integers. Then talk about your short. Then try to print this up as well, S1. So this got printed. Okay, so it is again with a certain range, 3 to 7, 6, 8, and all of that. So that you can check and try out. Let's say I want to try this range. Let me write it, but I have to remove this comma from here. So when I'm writing this 32768, that is the boundary line number. So if I make it like 9 here, this is going to throw me an error. So that is where the range is. So you have to take care of this, that it should not go outside of the range. So if you write 1, it is fine. Okay. And also you can try with the positive number as well. So it is going up to 767. So if I write 767, covering the boundary values, it is fine. If I write 8 here, it is throwing me an error. So this is the problem, because of which we have a next set of container. So this is your byte option. If you are struggling to handle a certain value in byte, you have an option, a bigger container option called as short. If you are still struggling with the short size, then you can have access to the next one, which is your integer. Same way for long. So this is a hierarchy. Whichever suits you and fits your values well, you are going to use that. But this is something which is being used very rarely into some kind of billing application, and you are charging a lot from some of the customer. In those kind of application, you might find long, but majorly this is something we use in your regular testing and also everywhere. So int will be mostly used, but you can use byte or short as well if you are using a small number. So let's see how this integer is going to return us. Okay, so again I have taken a bigger number, so which was getting outside of this range. Okay, so you can take this number to this number. This is the range. So again, this is all about how we see the range pieces. Put a I here, and if you want to run it, you can check. So this is something which is coming. This is what we were expecting. And this is not exciting anymore. Let's move on from this topic. So I will be putting a number here. One more thing we have to take care while we are writing a long type of value. So we have to add a literal in the last, which is your L. By that only my compiler, which is actually help us to run the application or Java code, is going to understand that this is what you are giving in a long form. If you don't put this, then it is going to throw you an error. So if you change it to double or anything else, it will again throw you an error. So how to do this long? You have to put a L over here, and this is how it looks like. Then you can print L over here like this. Same you can do with the double. Double is something again bigger range of float. First take up the float, then we will move to double. So float is any decimal number when you write that is coming under your float. And float also look for a literal called as F. So you can put float here and run it. This is how your result look like. We will see the typecasting there. You will find very interesting things. So now cover up this double as well. So double is something if you are having some bigger number and which will not be covered in the float, that you can pick up in the double. So these are all our primitive data types. And let's talk about boolean as well. And then you can print the B1. Your B1 can be true or false. Okay, so true is the value you are getting here. And the last but not the least is your character. So you have to define characters. Whatever you see around in your keyboard here, that will be covered as a character, and that you have to provide in the single quotes like this. So there will be a single quote given in your keyboard, and that you have to bring in twice, and in that you are going to provide any special character as well will also be a part of character. So it's not only the numbers, it's not only the characters, it's everything you see around your keyboard. So we have all these primitive data type ready, and this is how you can check out your boundary values as well, keep on changing it, and you can see it will throw you an error as well. So if I go to the boolean and if I do like this b2 or b3, you should be writing a unique variable again. You can't repeat it something which you have already declared. Like I was doing B again over here. So it was started throwing me an error that why you are taking B here. So I have few questions for you. Like if I write, I'm just asking boolean B2 equal to true, boolean B4 equal to false, boolean B5 equal to 1, boolean B6 equal to 0. So I wanted to know from you guys what all these are going to throw me. Are they going to, hold it them? Is it something which they can hold it up or not?
Capitalization will not
True,
allow.
false.
It will throw an error. T, F.
So let me remove one by one. So you are saying it is going to throw me an error, right?
False will be right because by default value for boolean is false. So false will be okay. Otherwise we can but true also we can assign like to any boolean value that's our initialization. So we can assign any value, true or false,
If
anything.
it's throwing error.
Capital
But
letters.
this is a capital true. I mean, like if you will assign true, normal, lowercase true, then it would be fine.
So actually the answer to this is, to these two first is, let me remove this as well. Java is a case sensitive language. So if they have defined in their library that I want this value, exactly this value, so they are not going to accept this one. It is more of a case sensitive where if you are writing capital, then it is capital. If it is small, then you have to put small. There is no compromise in it in case of Java. So let's talk about this one. So this is also throwing you an error. Why I've added 1 and 0? This is again a flag, right? 1 means true and 0 means false. That is why I came up with this. So these two are also going to throw you an error. So this is something you have to use all the time if you are using a Boolean value. So this was quite simple, but obviously we discussed things in a good way. So this is your data types, specifically your primitive ones.